Hi, I'm Rusty. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty. It's something new that I'm doing during the pandemic to find out what my friends are doing for self-care. What are you doing to take care of yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, your skin, your hair, all the things that we um, at times take for granted because we can just go and have it done, or we have access to quick fixes versus having to create our own. Right now, I think it's a beautiful time for people to read the books that you haven't been able to read, to paint, do the home projects that you haven't been able to do, um, and to reconnect and find creative ways to help other people. Yesterday, an epiphany hit me where um, to help the Postal Service and healthcare workers, I have a boatload of cards that can be mailed out to hospitals and long-term, short-term living facilities to say thank you for what you're doing, being on the front line. And I have to buy stamps, so that helps the post office. Win-win. I've just helped two different groups very quickly, very easily, and not with a cold. So that's what this series is about. And I'm waiting for our guests to dial in, but food for thought. What kinds of things can you do at this time to live and thrive? This is a beautiful time to work on yourself, healing, drawing again, recreating, really getting to know who you are, because we are so incredibly busy that taking this time and taking advantage of this time, meaning really getting into a quiet space, turning off that damn television, and focusing on what's good about you, what's good about your world, what's good about your family and friends, and reconnecting. We always say we don't have enough time. We've got plenty now. So that I'm excited about. And I'm just going to see where she is. She's not on yet. Some of the things that my friends and I have talked about is taking a bubble bath, listening to music, dancing. I personally like my Nerf gun and my squirt gun, chasing my daughter around the house. That's always fun. That's really what it's all about. It's recreating, reinventing, and re-loving. Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I apologize. I scheduled it for today, and then I reread the message, and it was supposed to be yesterday, and I totally stood you up, so I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't available yesterday. I put it on today too. So I don't know. And then at 10:30, I actually have an appointment for my foster daughter's, education I have to go to. So I was like, why did I say that then too? So this is like perfect.
The universe has an amazing way of giving us what we need when we need it and not allowing us to have what we don't need.
I was just thinking that I'm like, I was having a different conversation 5 seconds ago, but yes, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I had a different conversation yesterday when I was trying to fix the sink. I'm learning to be a plumber, carpenter, chef, teacher, illustrator, dog groomer, gardener. I don't even remember what else. I think
at least you can garden. I was going to have all this time starting last week to like paint my house and stuff, and somehow I have no time. I'm like, what is even happening?
That's what happened to me today. I literally had you and one other person. I've ended up 5 hours straight on calls. I feel you.
What is happening? What is happening? Anyway,
so who are you? What do you do? And give us 5 tips and tricks to make you a healthier you during this time.
Oh, perfect. So my name is Lisha Anitqua. I am a transpersonal psychologist and a yoga instructor, and I train coaches as well. So I do a lot of certifications, a lot of education and teaching, and then a lot of trauma therapy, like childhood therapy, but for adults. Although I do love working with kids, so I did expand there this year. But childhood trauma therapy, but for adults that have already gone through it. Like that's really my specialty. and where I've helped people with the most breakthrough. And it's really about like what you don't learn when you're a kid, when you're in a survival community. No matter what you're surviving, whether it's poverty, right, or just your parents working all the time and not being there, your parents being perfectionists and working all the time and making a lot of money so you can have everything that you want in the world, but you have no attention and no love, right? That's trauma. A lot often people don't think that, and they come to me and they're like, I don't understand why I'm here. And I'm like, well, and they're like, oh. So learning how to love yourself, I think, is the biggest tip that I can give in for your audience. And the first piece of that is really being able to look at love in a bigger, more expansive way. So we look at love as like feel good and want to feel good and attention and acceptance and harmony and non-judgment and, you know, like romantic love, like running to the arms of your lover and, oh, everything is just beautiful. I don't really know anybody that grew up with that love. Now, I am open to meeting people that totally grew up with that particular style of love in a really super healthy way. But it is more rare than normal. The norm is love is more critical and controlling, and however it showed up through your parents to you, however it showed up, like, yeah, I mean, however it showed up, however security and care showed up for you or didn't show up for you in your first 6 years of life is usually how we love ourselves.
Well, and I think that's interesting because I think a lot of that is learned behavior, experience. I think you're inept in a lot of ways, and whatever tools you get from that experience is how you are able to survive that time period, whatever that means, how, like you said, however that shows up.
Yeah.
And I think what is compounding that is an ideology that might not be true, if that makes sense. So I think that kind of confuses what love really is.
It does. And we can't heal an unhealthy love or relationship with security, acceptance, and being of support. We can't heal that until we truly accept like how that was unhealthy shown to us, right? So so the first thing about it is to understand that however love showed up for you, right? When you were forming your brain, 0 to 6, 7 years old, when you were in sponge brain, when you were learning how to be a human, those humans around you that were good or bad, trained your survival brain, reptilian brain, which programs your nervous system, your physical body, to do whatever it's supposed to do, right? So it's very scientific.
That's a perfect word. I love it. Scientifical. Yes. We're scientific today.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's awesome. Very scientific, right? And you know, so literally, like, we're trained to be humans by the people around us, right? So if your mom had low self-esteem, or your parents got a divorce, or you know, in any meaning that you made up around it, right? So often little kids think, oh, it was all my fault, when it had nothing to do with them. As adults, we know this, right? But as kids, we didn't, but that was what formed your brain. So how do you love? First is recognizing that however love was shown to you, okay, positive or negative, healthy or not healthy, that is how your nervous system is going to recognize love.
So to put it really simply, everybody, what she's saying is those are the tools in your cosmic tool belt that you either have to throw away or learn how to build with in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing, number one, long story short, is to really take this time to be like, well, how was I loved? Or how wasn't I loved the way that I wanted to be loved?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Like how like your parents could have been there the whole time, but not showed up the way that you needed them to. Maybe their love language was acts of service and your love language is gift giving, and they never bought you any friggin' gifts. Right? And it could be as simple as that. All right, so that's number one. Number two would be really connecting into what you enjoy.
That's a big one.
It's a huge one. And so many people, especially women, but so many people have no clue what they desire, what they enjoy, what gives them pleasure. Okay, so people cringe at the word pleasure. They think it's all sexual, which it totally is sometimes. But
yes.
Yes. Right. And it includes that too. Yeah. You know, it's like this time of quarantine, like, whew, right. So what gives you pleasure? One of my major formulas of pleasure is cream and whipped cream in my coffee. And everybody knows this. So this morning, what doesn't give me pleasure is when people don't consider mom. So this morning I woke up and I was going to get my coffee and do a live with my coffee with everybody, because I promised everybody on my pages. And I got upstairs and a half gallon of whipped cream, like, you know, like half gallon of whipped cream and a pint, a big one, maybe a liter, right, of half and half gone. And the kitchen trashed. I heard them all awake at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But that hurts my feelings, right? Because there's very few things that mean a lot to me, but because I know those things, you know, I usually set pretty good boundaries.
Right.
Instead, I went and I had free coffee cards that I hadn't used, so I went to the coffee shop and I got myself coffee. Anyway, and ran back here for this.
That's where you were.
Yes, that's why I'm like, I'm coming. But knowing your formula, right? And then really standing for it. Like, I was not going to not have cream in my coffee. Like, this is a time of pleasure, right? This is a time of filling up on those little tiny things, those little bitty things that really fill your cup. And cream in my coffee is something that really fills my cup. I don't know what it is about the texture of cream. I'm a texture person with clothes, with everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And there's something about whipped cream and me that's like a virtual hug. So figure out those things for you. It could be food, like this one, or it could be something completely different. But those little things of pleasure, that's what you want to fill your day with, right? Other things that fill me with pleasure is stretching. I love yoga. I love stretching. I'm going to go hiking here in just a bit, about noon. We're going to go snowshoeing, right? So I know these things in my formula and that fill me up and give me pleasure that do not require anybody else, usually. They took my cream to do it for me, right? Right. So you have that total power. So that's number two, pleasure. 1, know your true love story, that beginning love story. 2, pleasure. 3, know your ideal love story, that one that you were talking about, right?
Oh, the fantasy.
We all explain it differently. Like, what does that fantasy one? Yeah. What does it look like to you, right? Who is this fantasy person? A couple years back, I got a divorce, and then I dated this like really amazing human being. I hadn't been with somebody that I just like clicked with ever before. And since I was an adult and knew myself, right? So I was with this person, and it was just like, oh. Well, I created a situation where we live far away from each other and so forth and so on. Because that's where I was in my healing journey, right? Right. So it was perfect, like you said in the beginning. But the other thing that I did is I really got clear on how I had created this fantasy person. And not only had I created this fantasy person for him, I created a fantasy person for me.
Well, you had that distance, so it was a safe relationship to have.
Yeah. But I think we do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your fantasy person? Like who are you as your fantasy person? Who is your partner in love as a fantasy person? Do you have that person? And then step 4 would be to kill that person.
I would say divorce them, divorce them, get married, but killing them, okay. I'll get
yeah, no, I'm not. I'm talking about the fantasy, right? The fantasy person, not the person that you're with. Oh my goodness, no. But the fantasy of, right? Like, and it's important for their person too, right? So a lot of people when we're dealing with love, whether it's our kids or our partner, we have this ideal person that we think that they should be, or we want them to be. And it builds a lot of dissatisfaction. The other thing is we have this fantasy person that we think that they want.
Say that one more time, because that's a lot to chew on.
Yeah. So we have a fantasy person that we think they want.
And we do that a lot, and not just in romantic terms. We do that as a species in general. We have our tools from back then that we either know how to use or we don't use correctly, like the Little Mermaid and the spork. What did you call it? Yeah. That's our tool chest. That's what we know. That's our familiarity and the things that we've gathered along the way of experience. So, a fork can be used as a doppelganger. Was that it?
It's a doppelganger.
There you go. Or it can be used to eat with, or stab your fake fantasy person. But the fun part about it is when you get really good and really real and really authentic within yourself, you can have these conversations in a productive way and have fun with it. And all it is allowing you to relearn who you authentically are at that point in time. We're constantly growing. We're constantly
every day.
Yeah.
Every moment, right? So if you have this fantasy person that you're either trying to be, not living up to, so it's causing distance between you and all of your relations, or and you're kind of in this perpetual competition, which is what I realized about 5 years ago in that relationship. One, there's no way to compete with the fantasy person.
Well, because you just make them bigger and bigger and bigger. So you're never going to succeed in your own mind.
Exactly. It's just like blah. They can't succeed with your fantasy person if you do have one for your lover. Like if you have a person that is there and committed and loving and like fun and like real, right? And you have this fantasy person, you need to get rid of that fantasy person for the sake of your love.
Sorry, Johnny Depp, we're over.
Johnny Depp in that movie, right? In that one scene.
I don't know. Right? I've watched him a long time.
Oh my gosh. Now you have me thinking of him like jumping into Thelma and Louise's car. I don't know. There's never going to be a better moment than that. No. It's hot in here all of a sudden. So, but I mean, it's like that, right? So if you're competing with, if you're not loving yourself, okay, it's really about yourself. If you're not loving yourself or being able to love because of this fantasy of what it should be, what you should be, and shoulding all over yourself is what I call it with my clients. Like there's no way to compete. Right. So step 1 is understand your programming. What tools are in your toolbox? What are you fighting? What do you know how to use? And what do you really just need to get rid of? Okay. And I do this all through journaling. You can do hypnotherapy and tapping and schedule appointments with people like me and us. And like there's so many things that we can use to get through this, but I like journaling, just clarity journaling.
I like to burn it afterwards.
And burn it. Yep. I have multiple journals. Actually, my kids told me that I have an addiction to journaling, to journals downstairs, because I have like 6 of them laid out. I have ones for each like category. So I can burn certain ones and keep my gratitude and keep my manifesting, right? So yeah, burning them is a great way to do it, and blackout journaling. So you're deleting the story, right? You're like rewriting it and really like getting clear on it, letting yourself have all the feels, let all those things come up, and just, but also just getting really clear on like, what is my fantasy? Who is my fantasy ideal person? Who am I as my fantasy ideal person? Where am I like this person already? Right? Where can I drop that? So, but 1, just to review, 1 is knowing the beginning stages. 2 is pleasure, which is usually the hardest. Pleasure, what fills you up, what gives you joy, little tiny things. 3 is what was 3?
Killing your love, designing your perfect lover.
Designing your perfect lover, this part. And number 4 is divorcing them or releasing them, breaking up with them, killing them. Like, you are free, and really being able to fall in love with yourself. And the 5th is actually marrying yourself. And I do actual ceremonies. When I married myself, it was before I was divorced from my first husband. And I was like, it totally changed my reality. I had to go through many years of tapping into pleasure, because that was very hard for me. Mm-hmm. To find my pleasure. I had a lot of guilt and shame around it, and how that looked and what it looked like, and then I had the ideal person, which I didn't even know was there, right? and that fantasy, which made it really hard to accept anybody, and so figuring those things out, and then really choosing yourself and marrying yourself just as you are right now and in this now moment. So each morning when I wake up, I have my now moment, and I'm just like, where am I now? And some days it's shit, especially in quarantine. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like, I wake up and I'm like, whoa, you're complaining. Nobody's here. You're the only adult in the house and nobody's listening. Wow, that's frustrating. And you don't know what's happening with work and this and that, like, how am I going to get through this? And where's groceries coming from? This is going to be interesting. Like, seriously, like, I have real life and I'm moving my practice back to my house. Luckily, I was in the process of doing that, but I thought I was going to substitute teach for 3 to 5 months, right? Before
that transitional job
transition, right? So I had all this time to get 20 clients on my roster, right? And then
well, you had text. It was so funny. You texted me in the beginning, and I was still an essential employee at the time. I didn't get sick at that time. And you're like, what can I do for you? And I was like, well, you can explain to me why God decided to give us a pandemic when I finally got real about wanting to date again. And I mean, it's been years. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I know what it is that I'm looking for, sort of, in a human being to share space with. And then all of a sudden, boom. And it literally was within like 48 hours of signing up for dating sites. And I'm laughing. I'm going, okay, yeah. So it's beautiful and it's fun, and it's one of those things where
just left. There you go.
It's beautiful and it's fun, and it's one of those things where when you get really good with the fact that you are a bag of water surfing on a rock into infinity, and you think you have some control, sit back and laugh about it and get real, because this is a perfect time to recreate, reinvent, accept, acknowledge, love, express, and get really good with yourself. And I love the idea that you marry yourself at the end, because in a lot of ways, you really are. You really are merging. You're a walking dichotomy, and you're merging that and getting good with those pieces of your fragility, of your stubbornness, of your quirks, of all of those pieces that we haven't really had time for because we fill our lives up with so much stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're
quarantined. It just naturally fills up, guys. It's nothing to feel guilty about. Like we were saying at the beginning, like we're just busy, busy, busy.
Yes.
Are you doing I have a couple friends that are like doing the online dating, like the virtual dating.
Not yet. No, the pandemic just kind of wiped it out for me. I'm like, all right, I got, 2 or 3 months of plumbing and carpentry and gardening. I'm busy. I don't got time.
Never mind.
Yeah. No. So it's funny because in a lot of ways, I think those of us who are in the healing world have a terrific opportunity at taking the time, that extra time that we normally don't have in the past, what that was, again, those tools, and shaping our realities in a very different way now to heighten and brighten and be creative with each other and raise each other up and come to a new world. I mean, basically, when this is all said and done, it really is going to be a very new way of living. And this little mini series that I'm doing is hopefully going to become a documentary.
Yay!
I know, but
I'll do more.
I know you will. That's what
I love film.
So
another one of my pleasures.
It's exciting to be able to highlight what makes you unique, what you do, and to see, because I've been doing the radio show, I've got 800-900 radio interviews.
Yeah.
And now I've expanded even larger and whatever. But the one thing that I felt that we really needed was to see each other and to have these conversations face to face. And you do it every morning, actually. You do a little thing every morning.
I try. I'm doing one right now. We're doing the gratitude series, and I really felt led to share some of the things that just fill me up, like stretching and yoga and reset and journaling and just like really do some teaching. I love teaching, right? So how to do that better than on this virtual platform. And I love video.
I'm not a big fan of video, but I do love teaching. My favorite part about teaching is when you see the popcorn. You see the students go, boom, and then, and it's just popcorn, boom, 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 boom. And you're like, yes, I planted the seed and it's growing. Yes, next.
When you hear that feedback, I constantly ask for it. And I don't get it as often as I want, but I got a call yesterday of somebody who I totally didn't know was watching me.
Right.
And he was just like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. The last 2 weeks with you have totally shifted my reality. This is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Can I give your name and number to, somebody else?
Right.
Work with you. And I was like, yes, that's why I'm doing this. Please hand my number out everywhere, right? Like I am here to serve. That's what I have is time. And these gifts of, we've devoted so much time to our crafts as people, right? And so all we want to do is use them. And it's those popcorn moments.
Yeah.
And people tell you, you guys, when you say, oh, Rusty, thank you so much for this video. Right? Like that's what's going to fill us up and you up and makes it all worthwhile to show up and give.
Well, and it's not
somebody receiving.
It's not an ego thing either. It's
it's just like somebody's receiving.
Yeah, like
the circle continues.
Exactly. So here I am offering tools for you that are new, different, or maybe sharpened.
Mm-hmm.
And you're running with it and excited about your day. And that's what makes me the happiest, because my fabulous little things that I love laying in my bed and going through every single thing that I'm grateful for. That is huge. Every morning before I get out of bed, before I make my coffee, before anything. I go through everything.
Mhm.
And I live in Jurassic Park, as you know. So when the sun rises here, it gets really loud. Like we have all kinds of creatures, and the lizards crawl across the screen, and some of them are like this big, you know, there's dinosaurs everywhere, and alligators and birds of all kinds. And they're noisy in the morning. They're really noisy, but it's so cool to watch the world wake up. And I get so excited. So for me, those are tools that are given to me in order to be a better version of myself for the day. Like your cream.
And when you wake up to that, it's like, oh, right. And I do the same thing. Like I do my gratitude list. I set my intention for the day. Sometimes I fall back asleep and have some wild dream. And then I'm like, and that works for me too. Sometimes I'm like, and why am I dreaming about that TV show? I need to watch less TV. But anyway, that's just happened right now. But you know, it's about finding your formula.
Yes.
To have that formula that works for you. And my formula is going to be different than yours. Your formula is going to be different than everybody else's. It's not about doing somebody else's formula. Like if anything in coaching that I've learned, the difference between coaching, teaching, mentoring, and therapy is two of those kind of tell you what to do. And I love coaching because we help you figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference. I really got out of teaching because I felt like all I was doing was building a wall that you're going to hit against.
Mm-hmm.
And with coaching,
I don't want to do that. I don't want to cut that food out of my diet. I don't want to work out every day like that. I don't want to use this communication style with somebody. Ugh, tapping, I hate tapping, right? Like whatever. So all the things that like really work for me don't necessarily at all work for my clients. And it took me years to really come to that humble space to be like, okay, I'm no longer, I'll teach, I'll give guidelines, I'll give a shit ton of options, probably far too many options, because I want you to pick and choose what works for you. Some people might want to get out of bed and do their whole altar, right? And like sit and pray, or like go someplace and do something, or like have a different routine than laying in bed and going through every little thing that they're grateful for, right? Some people gratitude lists because they can't connect with that actually can trigger them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Really, really bad, right? So if you're in a place where your gratitude list is triggering you, and then you're making yourself wrong for being triggered and not being able to tap into your gratitude and blah, 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 blah.
You lose the whole moment. It's dead.
Right. It's dead. So, okay. So instead of doing a gratitude list, surround yourself with things that bring you pleasure. Right.
Yep. And
then you can sip that cup of coffee and go, I'm so grateful for you. Right. So
I think it's
different expressions for different people.
It's different expressions for different people, but it's also, you don't know what you don't know until you know. And exactly. I absolutely live for that, because one thing that I learned out of all of my storms is that I'm fragile, I'm flawed, freaking beautiful, an amazing little star, but I don't know what I don't know until I know. And that allows me to be open to learning about new tools and new things that I can do as an individual to give me pleasure, because maybe I didn't know this thing would provide me pleasure. Yeah. And that's the exciting part for me as a student. And then watching your student as a teacher or coach find that same place where they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that existed. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That curiosity.
Yeah.
I love approaching life with curiosity. And, you know, and I too, like, it's amazing. Like, I am so sensitive, and I complain more than I'd like to in my life. And this quarantine is really allowing me to see those pieces where I'm just like, wow, okay. And it's so subtle. the more that you surround yourself with pleasure and gratitude, and you know your story of love, and the more you know, like these things that you want to shift that are holding you back get like quieter and quieter and quieter, but they're still there, right? So it's about going and really accepting them, accepting yourself for where you're at as you're there, and then choosing something differently. And differently can be super scary, and it can look like, oh, I don't even want to do that. And we were talking when we first got on here about like the universe kind of gives you whatever you need, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, well, I was thinking like my gut is telling me not to, like, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And everything is saying I don't want to do this, but there's something quieter inside me that's like, right, but maybe. And I like, do I listen to my gut? Because it has really steered me wrong sometimes.
Right.
Or do I listen to that little voice? And who am I trusting right now? And I'm having this like internal battle between, I don't even know yet. Like I have to go into my meditation and into my toolbox and pull out my tools to see, okay, for this decision, like what's real? Like what's really powerful for me to do, right? And if I couldn't make a mistake, what would that look like? And what gets me excited, right? Yeah. And so for dating, it would be kind of the same thing for you.
Yeah, we'll wait until after the zombie apocalypse. I still have to build my garden bed. Yeah, I've got.
That sounds like an excuse. I think I'm just gonna leave it at this, Bestie. I'm just gonna leave it at this.
All right, Coach.
I think that right now, if I were to be single, which I'm not, but if I were to be single, this would be a really interesting and fun time to date because there wouldn't be any pressure for physicality, right?
That's interesting.
You can eat whatever the hell you want. There's no power play because there's nobody's paying for the meal, right? Nobody has to decide where to go. So you can make yourself a beautiful meal. You can friggin' light your own damn candle. You can pour your own wine. It can be like the perfect side for yourself. So you can date yourself while having a virtual date with somebody and getting to know them. And you might build a really great friendship. I have met some of my dearest friends, like super protective, beautiful, incredible men that I wouldn't want to be in relationship with, you know, like for whatever reason. It just, that spark wasn't there, right?
Right.
But totally my best friends through dating sites.
Oh, really?
Over the last 5 years. Yeah.
And
I'm mainly in relationship. Like I'm a relationship girl for better or for worse. I like being in relationship, mainly because I have to explain my childhood and what I do for a living when I get into a relationship, and it's a lot of work and it's kind of humiliating. So, you know, I could just hand them books. Like here, I wrote this, read this. I wrote this, read this. You want to stay with me after that, you know, right? Look at all these videos. If you still like me, then go for it.
there you go. Right.
You know, but then they kind of elevate me into somebody I'm not, because I am really sensitive and I am really loyal, and I am an only child, right? I need not a lot of attention, but I need to be told like, I love you, you're special, something's, you know, like I see you. I need somebody to see me, right? That's super important to me. And it might be because I'm an only child. Right? I'm open to that. And it might just be me and my personality that I have to accept and not make wrong anymore.
Right.
But if you're dating virtually, right, you can date yourself. You can do this. You can be like, yeah, you know, nice to meet you. Never talk to you again. Just like a regular date. You can go like just dressed on the top and totally pantless, you know,
Woo, that's a different kind of virtual dating, girl. That's
No, they can't see it. You can see what I'm underneath here. You know, so I think virtual dating could be kind of interesting at the beginning to form really great friendships and a wonderful foundation and build that, you know, it's like pen pals kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I won't be doing it, but I could virtually live through you.
I can
like your flower beds. I understand. Like you got to get those flower beds going.
Oh my God. It's been so hot here too. Lord, give me a break, please. All right.
We're
So
the opposite. It's snowing here. All right.
how do people reach you? Because we got to wrap up.
Yeah, we do. Sorry. We've gone like way long and now I have 15.
That's all right.
Okay. So LishaAntiquacom, LishaAntiquacom. That's also my words everywhere. You can kind of find that. And my other community company and training center is Yourownuniversity. So you can find me there, Yourownuniversity.com. Both of them, if they're not combined, Lisha Antiqua, Yourownuniversity, like on all the Instagrams and all that stuff, they're either combined as me or I have 2 pages. So you can find me on any platform, I think.
And you'll be able to find more information about her somewhere around the box.
Thank you, Rusty, for having me on.
Bye. Thank you. Enjoy your school meeting.
I will. Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty. I'm Rusty, and what fun that was. I'm telling you. So look below, look to the side, look up, look down, look somewhere, because her information will be located somewhere there so that you can reach out if you have more questions. And I am now off of my meetings. I'm taking my time for the rest of the afternoon. Chloe has her virtual schooling that she's been doing, so she's locked up in her bedroom. And if you can hear very faintly, the dogs are snoring over here to this side of the room, and I'm kind of getting a little bit of a giggle because they snore like men. Anyway, know that you're loved, know that you're beautiful, and until next time, live and thrive.